Just a couple of best friends hanging out, best friends hanging out, best friends hanging out.
Yeah, it's your boy here. Zombie Gate 2020 is upon us. Corona Gate 2020 is upon us. So this is a very important podcast to talk about. Colin, I can't remember how this topic started, but I do remember Colin decided to gather data on... gather data sounds very serious for what he actually did, which was make up a bunch of nonsense about us. Apparently, population density and cardio are the only things that matter. The only thing that really matters is, as I've said 100 times, your stash. Your stash matters. All stashes matter. Because, let's say, I'm not going to talk about coronavirus because I'm not educated enough about coronavirus. What I am educated on is zombie apocalypse. I watched a lot of Walking Dead, almost all of it. Once, spoiler alert, Glenn died. I was like, fuck it, I'm out. And then I also watched, Zombieland. That one was amazing. So I think I know a thing or two about zombie apocalypses. I also played the shit out of Resident Evil when I was growing up. So even if there was this giant nemesis thing chasing you, I think I'm pretty good at the whole zombie idea. I would definitely die, and we all would definitely die if the zombies were anything like they are in World War Z, those flying gnarly zombies that are super fast and they like climb up giant walls by like climbing each other, and they're incredibly fast. That would be a problem for all of us. I know I'm not the fastest guy in the league or on a team that I was on, but it doesn't matter if you are the fastest guy. Even if your name's Tyler Bacon, you're not going to escape those zombies. So for all intents and purposes, let's just pretend like they're the classic Zombieland, Walking Dead, Resident Evil, normal zombies that just kind of shuffle around and don't do shit other than that. So to get back to the main point about Colin's list, I'm going to do a little recap and go back to Colin's discussion because he had a bunch of stuff. I mean, honestly, kudos to Colin. I asked the same question. How do you have 10 categories, but then only have a total of 26 points? It just doesn't make any fucking sense, dude. Let's try to find this list here, because I made a little list of my own, I'll have you know. Granted, it was while I was sitting at home late at night, and didn't really have any... I mean, it had a little bit of rhyme or reason to it, but let's be honest here. We're all just kind of talking out our ass, especially about survival. No one fucking knows about this kind of thing. Well, I can't even find it. Oh, here we go. I found it. 10 categories. All right. So, injury history. Can you survive in the wild? Cunning. How are you going to rank our cunning, Colin? When have you been in any situation with us that, takes a lot of cunning? Do you know what cunning means? All right. Cunning, social alliance skills. That's all well and good. I kind of like that. I would probably be low on that. I'm very abrasive. But my bard-like abilities might ingratiate me into a certain tribe. All right. Endurance, it's tough. How much can you stomach gore? I think we're all going to have to stomach gore in this scenario. And granted, I don't think you're qualified to say who can watch what. I think if we saw someone get their stomach ripped out by a zombie, we'd all be equally grossed out. Maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe I'm totally off, but I don't think you can really rank our gore. Proximity to dense population. I kind of like this one, but I had a few caveats on that, so we'll get there. The anchor factors, huge, underrated. Self-defense and MacGyver. Okay, so I don't really like any of those. So what I did was I threw them out, except for a few. Your rankings: Bacon, Bill, and then a lot of tied for thirds: Evan, Weave, Scott, Pebbles, Max, Colin, O'Mals, and then dead last, bringing up the rear, the tribe of Adam, Brad, and Stu. the Bradham Stew combo. Apparently, we just die immediately. All right. I take great umbrage with your list, Colin. So I'm not sure where you got these numbers. Granted, you're no Max, and you did rate yourself very low on the list. You got 18 points, which is just a paltry 2 points higher than the shit brigade of Bradham and Stew. I do agree with you. I like how Bacon and Bill were tied, yet you still gave Bill number 2. I don't know why you did that. And, of course, Max is also tied with Pebs, but, somehow has 7th. I don't know. Anyway, so I'm going to keep it nice and easy. I did my own rankings based on a few categories. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about from last most likely to die to least likely to die is what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to go person by person in the league who I think is most likely to die in an apocalypse. Based on, for me, it was 9 factors, so we'll talk about it. All right. So, first off, at number 12, at the very back of the pack, I have Max at 43 total points. This is why I think Max will die first and is least equipped to survive. His cardio is good, but there's bike cardio, like Peloton bike cardio. There's like elliptical cardio. And then there's actually sprinting and running away from zombies cardio. And when I haven't sprinted or run around, juked and dodged in quite a long time, granted, I'm like 900 pounds heavier than Max, but it's a different kind of cardio. It's a different type of wear and tear on the body than sitting on a bike and just pedaling. So I had you fairly high. I had 7 out of 10, but not as good as the Frisbee in shape in season guys. 7 is pretty good. Then there's wilderness survival. I gave you a really low score here. I gave you a 3, and the reason I gave you a 3 is not because I don't think you can survive in the wilderness, but you live in LA, so there's not really much wilderness to be had, and you still live in LA, right? So it would just be tough, man. You freaking live in LA. What are you going to do? The next one is self-defense. I think you can defend yourself pretty well. The highest person in the league got a 7, and I give you a 6. The only reason is because I assume you're probably like, lightweight, like 155 to 170 pounds, which isn't too heavy, and some gnarly zombie could sit on you and take you out. Do you have a stash? You hadn't said anything about it. I assume you don't have a stash. So basically the way I put stash is if you have one, it's 10 points. If you don't have one, it's 6 points. Let me reiterate how important having a stash is. It allows you to break from running out into the wild, so to speak, and avoid contact with either zombies or vicious humans who are trying to take what you have. Your exposure is exponentially greater if you don't have a stash, and you have to go out and forage for stuff. So that's why I rated it fairly high. Now, the next is the anchor effect, and Max got the lowest score on the anchor effect. You got a 4, and the 4 comes from 4 out of 10. Is the child. And now it's not just that you have to feed and carry and take care of a child, but also the child doesn't comprehend the need for to be quiet necessarily. And that's a huge factor in my mind, is the ability to have stealth, to be quiet, to, let's say there's a human hunting party outside, and they're foraging. They're the Collins of the world, and they're foraging for whatever they might find. And then they hear inside this locked house, this baby screaming and crying. You know what house they're going to. They're going to that one, and they're going to take the stash that you don't have. Anyway, the anchor effect is real, and Max, unfortunately, got the lowest score there. The population density, I stole that one from Colin. I think it's a good factor, and you live in Los Angeles last I checked, and that is a gigantic, ginormous city. So yeah, you understand. And then in kind of hand in hand with population density, I have escapability, and Max got a 6 for escapability. The freeways in LA are going to be congested. Everyone's going to be trying to leave to go somewhere a little more secluded, away from the craziness. It's going to be very hard to leave. So you got one of the lower scores in escapability. There are a bunch of freeways and there is water, so you can maybe hop on a boat or something. So you didn't get the lowest score, but you got a low score. And then the X factor is, I think you are actually probably going to figure it out best out of almost anyone in the league. Adapt. I didn't really rank intelligence because I think we're all fairly intelligent in this league, except for Scott, who's a moron. But other than that, I think I didn't rate that. But that being said, I do think that you're one of the more intelligent, and adaptable type people in this league. So I gave you an 8. All that being said, you got a total of 43, which ranked you dead last. So sorry, Max, you're probably going to die. And going back to the anchor effect, I don't think we are really qualified to say whose girlfriend is better at survival than other people's girlfriends. I think it actually helps you to be alone, but I think having a teammate is also helpful. It's not just like you're going to die if they're in trouble, right? It's also maybe they'll help save you if you're in trouble. So I think it kind of goes both ways. Anyway, so I had Max at number 12. So that was a 43. The next up, I have 2 people tied for 46. I have Sean and I have Adam. So let's go ahead and go through it. We'll do Adam first. Cardio, 7. He does run marathons, so I gave him a 7, which is on the higher end. Self-defense, let's be honest. He did take me out pretty hard at wrestling. Yeah, but I was hammered, so that doesn't really count. So I gave Adam a 5 out of 10, which... oh, my bad. This is wilderness survival. Yeah, wilderness survival, I gave you a 5 out of 10. Self-defense, I gave you a 7 because you ragdolled me that one day. And that's the highest that anyone's had in the league except for a couple people. I have your stash. I think you're about to get a stash. You were texting us that you're going to get a stash, so that might bring you up, and that would actually bring you pretty high because everyone's fairly close except for a few outliers. The anchor effect, if you have a girlfriend and no child, your anchor effect is a 6. So you have a 6. Let's see, population density. You live in Oakland, so that's a low score. Unfortunately, you have a 4. It's going to be tough for you to get out of Oakland. It's going to be zombie central. The escapability isn't that great. You have a lot of freeways and a lot of, you have another waterway to get out of. But, yeah, it's going to be tough for you to get out of there. And then finally, your X factor is 6. I don't know how well you like your comforts. You're a homebody of sorts. You like your cats. You got your cats there. How likely are you to ditch them? There's a lot of X factor there. So I gave you a 6. Now over to Sean. Let's see. We have cardio. That would be a 6 for Sean. A 5 on wilderness survival, which I don't think any of us are particularly great at except for a few. Self-defense, I give you a 5 because I've never seen you fight anyone. Except for that one guy in the backyard when I got kicked out of that party. You were definitely trying to fight Audrey, right? Audrey's boyfriend, which was hilarious. Maybe if you would have pulled the trigger, we would have seen a few more points there, but didn't get it. Again, no stash for Sean, so that's a 6. Anchor effect, you have the best score out of anyone because you have no anchor whatsoever. You can just go as you please. You can betray whom you please. You are a wild card, so 9 for you. Population density is troubling for you. You, similarly to Max, live in a very highly populated area, so I gave you a 3 on that. It could have easily been a 4, I guess, but 3. Escapability, I should have given you a higher score here because I guess you are kind of near areas that are lower population density, and you could potentially escape on one of those freeways, but Anyway, I gave you a 6 there, and your X factor is a 6 because that's kind of just my basic X factor for nothing sticks out to me as going to be like, oh, this guy's definitely going to survive. Sipping on a whiskey water. They call it a highball anyway. So Sean, you and Adam are at 11 and 10. All right. And then after that, let's see, 48. So we have a couple 48s. We have Colin and Peebly together. All right. So we'll start with Peebly. Cardio is a 5. I know that your body is destroyed and broken down, injury history. So running away, sprinting away from zombies is going to be tough for old Peebly. Wilderness survival. Not sure what wilderness survival you would have there, but I give you a 5 because that's kind of average. Self-defense, you have a strong self-defense, an 8. We've seen you go berserk on people like Colin, so we know that your head smashing abilities are high, and you also have very big muscles, and you're very strong, and I just feel like you'd be an 8. I feel like you definitely meet someone halfway and beat that ass. Your stash, I don't think you have one. Even though you do have a house, I don't think you have a stash, so you're at a 6. Maybe you care to chime in. That would bring you up a few points, a few rankings here. Your anchor effect, again, if you have a girlfriend / fiance / wife, and that's it, you get a 6. So you're at a 6 there. Population density, I think you got a pretty good score here. You got a 6. You're living in Portland, but kind of in the suburbs of Portland, so I think you'd be in decent shape over there. Escapability, there's a lot in Oregon to run off to, so you have one of the higher scores there, a 7 escapability. And the X factor is a 5. The reason being, again, is your injury history. I think that could play a significant role in surviving if you tear something. There's no surgeons, doctors, anything like that. Anyway, Peebly is at 48, and then the next 48 is Colin, our guy. Guy who left the league, but still, I have to commend you. This was a great topic of conversation. Not really sure how it came up. I can't remember, but really happy that it did because this stuff is fun. Let's see. Where are we at here? So Colin had a 48. He had a 9 in cardio. I gave pretty much anyone who was in season training for Ultimate a 9, just because, as we all know, it takes a hell of a lot of cardio to be good at that. So 9 for Colin's cardio. Wilderness survival, I give you a 4. I just can't envision you doing so well out in the wild, Colin. I know that now you're being with Chelsea, you're going camping a lot more and doing a lot more adventurous stuff, but before that, you were kind of just ultimate work, home, bars kind of guy. So not a whole lot of experience out in the wild. Self-defense, I'll give you a 4. Little light in the ass. I haven't seen you get in a fight before. I think I could probably power bomb you through a table if I needed to. And I know Peebly could. So your stash, again, no stash, 6. You're going to have to wander out and meet the zombies head on. Anchor effect, just like everyone else with girlfriend, no kid, 6. Population density, you've got one of the higher scores here. Santa Barbara, especially the Hollister, Goleta area you're in, not too much population, so an 8. But your escapability, you only have really that one freeway to get out, and the 154 too. So if that thing's jammed up, then you're in trouble. So I give you a 6, and then your X factor is a 5. I can't think of anything that would help you out in the X factor world. So that's kind of just middle of the road. So 48. All right. So let's see. So that's Max at 12, Adam and Sean at 10 and 11 and 10, and then Colin and Peebly at 9 and 8. So next up, we have the 50s, and the 50s are Brad and Evan. So let's go with Brad. Cardio. I'm going to give you a 5 because I think I haven't really seen you run a ton. I know your back's bothering you, and I think that goes hand in hand with cardio. Because I know when I start running, things I didn't even know start hurting. So give you the 5. Wilderness survival, I give you a 6. I've known you to go camping a little bit, that kind of stuff. So 6 for old Brad in the wilderness survival. I don't really know anything else that would lead to. Well, you do have that really big, wide, cool hat, so that would help a little bit. Self-defense, I'm giving you a 5. Again, haven't seen any physicality from Brad. And then stash, again, a 6, because there isn't really anything more to say. You either have a stash or you don't, so it's either a 6 or a 10. Anchor effect, 6, because Monique, not with child, so that's good. Population density, just like Colin, you had an 8. And then escapability, just like Colin, you had a 6. And then your X factor, I had you at an 8, because I think you're a resourceful guy. I know you are, because you're very good at negotiating new positions and work. And yeah, I think that you're also your likability. You're very good at what's the word? Ingratiating? What? Damn it! Just being sociable. People love you, Brad. So I put you at an 8. All right. Now Evan is also at 50. I gave him an 8 in cardio. I don't know if he's in season. I know that Mischief, I don't think he's technically in season right now. So I gave you a 7 for that, or sorry, an 8 for that. I know your cardio is still very good. And then your wilderness survival is a 6, same as Brad. 7 for self-defense. I think you do pretty well. You're a coordinated, fast, big guy. In worst case scenario, you can just run away, I guess. I don't know. Your stash is a 10 because you actually have a stash. So good for you, Evan. Good job. That's going to be huge in the future, the zombie future. Anchor effect. Anchor effect is a. Why did I give you a 5? That doesn't make any sense. I guess maybe it's because. Yeah, I don't really understand why. That should be a 6. I'm sorry, dude. You should actually be ahead of Brad. Yeah, so there's a 6. All right. And then population density. This was one of the worst ratings because you live in San Francisco, which is brutal. And your escapability is also very low at a 3, the lowest of all, because you live on a peninsula or whatever, You're in the middle of the bay. It's going to be really tough to escape. When the bridges shut down, you're just stuck. Maybe you could hop on a boat or something, hop on a plane. But it's going to be really tough for you to get out of the city. It's tough to get out of the city now and to get into the city now. Just imagine when it's all fucked with a zombie apocalypse. You're going to be in way trouble. So that was really the thing that dragged you down. The escapability and the population density, Evan. Sorry, buddy, but hey, you got a stash, so that's good. Sipping whiskey. So your X factor's a 7. Again, I think you're intelligent, resourceful. You can adapt well. So you might be stuck in the city, and you're also you and Max have the same kind of X factor where you're sort of ruthless. In the sense of, cutting people and that kind of shit. So I could see you definitely cutting, trimming the fat, so to speak, in any kind of survivor parties. You could definitely make the tough decisions. So there you go. X Factor 7. You got a 51. So let's see. Again, Max 12, Sean and Adam 11 and 10. And then Peebly and Colin 8 and 9. And then Brad 7, Evan 6. And then that moves us to me at 53. So I have a cardio of 3. By far the worst by a full 2 points. I know my cardio is bad, guys. I'm a big guy. I used to smoke. Yeah, that pretty much says it all. And my injury history is not that great either. I haven't had any serious tears or breaks or anything, but my knees are all jacked. My hip flexors are all jacked. So my cardio is not good. It's a 3. My wilderness survival is a 7. I used to go backpacking growing up and camping a lot. So I've lived in the woods for, weekends at a time. know how to use, compass, all that shit. And I'm the only one who watched The Colony. And I watch a bunch of random ass survival shows because for some reason I like that sort of thing. So I give myself a 7. It's right up there with a few, right under the more qualified survivalists and above the guys who don't have anything. My self-defense, I think it's a 7. I think I at least know what to do. And I think I've been in probably more fights than most people in the league here. Bar fights and dumb shit like that. So I give myself a 7. That was the highest score other than a couple guys, Peebley being one of them. My stash is a 10 because I have a stash, and you need that because then you can seclude yourself, where I can also help my cardio. Population density, Concord is a 6. It's not that dense of a population. It's like 120,000, but it's very spread out. And my escapability is an 8. I live within a block of 3 separate freeways. I live near the Highway 4, Highway 242, and Highway 680. I live right next to an airport also, so I think my escapability is high, so I give myself an 8. And then my X factor is a 6. My only real X factor is that I'm kind of thick, so if I run out of food, that's going to help me last a little bit longer. Use that keto energy to feed off that fat, So anyway, that was me. And then after that, there's a 50. There's 2 54s. Old Scott and old Weaver. I'm going to start with Scott. So Scott has a 6 cardio. I haven't really known him to be much of a runner, but he's, pretty fit, smaller guy, so I'm sure that could translate to a 7 or 8 pretty quickly. Wilderness survival, I'm giving him a 7. I just have the feeling like, he was the one who lived in Tibet. He had that giant beard. I feel like he could rough it. I feel like he has roughed it. So I gave him a pretty high wilderness survival. And then self-defense, I gave him an 8 because he's the only guy here who seriously took Muay Thai classes and was very, very into it. He knows Goldberg, the wrestler, / ex-Carolina Panther. So 8 for Scott's Muay Thai self-defense, even though I can pick you up and throw you around like a child. It doesn't matter. Stash, you don't have one as far as I know, 6. Anchor effect, I think you have a girlfriend, but I don't know how serious that is. So I gave you an 8 there. Your anchor effect, I feel like you'd also just be like, peace. Population density, I don't even know where you live now, but I gave you a 5 because if it's anywhere near Minneapolis, that's a pretty big city. And your escapability is a 7, but honestly, it should have been lower because you could get snowed in, and then you'd be totally fucked. But I don't know if zombies like the snow, so that might help you, actually. And then your X factor is a 7. I think you're resourceful, intelligent. I mean, you're in Mensa, for God's sake, so you're the most moronic, intelligent guy I know. And so I give you a 54 total, just 1 better than me. So congratulations, Scott. Good job. Now for Weaver, cardio 9, because one thing I know about Weaver and playing him in Ultimate a lot is he is a high energy, high endurance, annoying defender. So I know his cardio is good. He's a 9. Even when he's out of shape, his cardio is good for some reason. Wilderness survival, former Boy Scout. He's got an 8 there. We all know that being a Boy Scout is super important. Self-defense, I have a 4. Right up there with Colin. I think you're just a lover, not a fighter, Weaver. But maybe prove me wrong. No stash, so 6. Anchor effect, 7. You have a girlfriend, I think, but I don't know if you guys are still together, so I just gave you a 7. And anyway. Population density, same as all the other SB guys, it's an 8, which is a good score, because Santa Barbara, not a lot of people there. Escapability, though, still not easy, only the 1 freeway and then a bunch of water. So maybe, I guess 2 freeways if you count the 154, but if those are, jammed up, then you're kind of stuck. We all know about that from the fires and stuff, the mudslides, so it is tough. And then the X factor, I gave you a 6. I'm not really. I can't really. I mean, I already talked about your wilderness survival. I just feel like you do all right, but nothing extraordinary. So I gave you a 6. So you're at a 54. You could have a 7 there, and then best Scott. So now I have it rounding out to the very top. I have at number 2. I have Tyler Bacon. Cardio is a 9. Obviously, in season, ultimate player, fast dude. Great endurance, not much injury history other than a freak accident on his wrist and a few other things that he's played through. Wilderness survival, I give him an 8. I know that he lives out in his parents live out in the boonies, so he's always chopping wood and doing shit like that. So, and he also hunts too. He goes on hunting trips, so that's a big plus. So 8 for Tyler on wilderness survival. Self-defense, I'll give him a 6. Shorter guy, lighter weight, so that's why you didn't get a 7, but I feel like you could, your speed and coordination would help. So no stash, 6. Anchor effect, girlfriend, so 6. Population density, 8. Santa Barbara, we already talked about it. Escapability, 6. Santa Barbara, already talked about it. And then your X factors is an 8 because of the hunting experience. And I think you're the only one who actually has guns. And you're probably, like I said in the group me, gonna at some point kill off Brad and Colin and Curtis, and then you and Weaver would chill and have, I guess that'd be months and months of meat. So I don't know how you'd keep that freezer going, but I'm sure you're figured out. You're a resourceful guy. And then at the very top, I have Diamond Bill, who is always at the top, it seems. And I'll tell you why. Cardio, I give him a 7. I don't think he is necessarily running marathons or anything, but, he's a lighter guy and not much injury history. We saw him walk 1,000,000 miles, so that 7 could become an 8 or 9 real quick. Wilderness survival, he's the only guy who survived not only in Spain, like kind of busking and walking around and backpacking, but he also, the John Muir Trail? What is it called? I think that's what it was. Yeah, you walk that. So I gave you the highest score. That was a 9. Self-defense is where I gave you a little bit of a tick. You got a 4 right up there with Colin and Weaver. I think you'd be scrappy, no doubt, but we all remember the helicopter incident with Evan. So that knocked you down a few points, unfortunately, Bill. Your stash is at a 6 because you don't have one. Anchor effect is at 8 because you don't have a girlfriend anymore because she's dead. Population density, I think you live out in the sticks, so I gave you an 8. And then escapability, again, Oregon is vast country, a lot of places to hide. And with your wilderness survival, that really goes hand in hand. So that's an 8. And then your X factor, all the above, mostly the wilderness survival and the escapability, the location. Having done it before, I give you a 9 on the X factor thing. So there you go. There's the rankings. One more time. It's Bill number 1, Tyler number 2, Weaver, and Scott 3 and 4. Where are we at? Stu at number 5. And then Evan at number 6, Brad at number 7, Peebly and Colin 8 and 9, Adam and Sean at 10 and 11, and then Max at 12. So there you go. I don't know if this is the most boring podcast in the history of podcasts, but I just had to release it. I'll ask you guys if you want me to release it. I mean, it is a lot of just blah, 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 blah. But the main thing I think about the zombie apocalypse, again, is where would we want to meet if we were to meet somewhere? I think it would have to be somewhere like an island of some sort, like maybe like Bethel Island or something like that, but maybe something a little less populated. I think zombies can't swim, so we got to find somewhere where there's a lot of resources to use, but also hard to get into. The city San Francisco would be tough because of all the zombies, but It'd have to be a place kind of like that. Maybe Alcatraz. Maybe we all meet at Alcatraz. What do you guys think? The prison? No, that'd be tough, huh? Yeah, it'd be real tough. Anyway, I don't really have much else to say. I just wanted to kind of touch on that. And if you guys want me to release this, I will. But again, I felt like it was kind of like a long, tedious, drawn out thing. But I just want you to know that if I close my eyes and envision us all together, texting on the group me, we're just a couple of best friends hanging out.
Best friends hanging out, best friends hanging out.